5 Classic Physique Olympia titles in a row, and Chris Bumstead built the most photographed back in bodybuilding without ever making the conventional deadlift the centerpiece. The lift every old school coach calls non-negotiable for back thickness, Cbum largely left it on the floor. Think about that for a second. Dorian Yates pulled 405 for reps. Ronnie Coleman famously deadlifted 800 pounds for 2 and screamed about it on camera. Franco Columbu pulled in the mid-700s at under 200 pounds of body weight. The deadlift is the lift the legends built mythology around. And Bumstead, the man who resurrected the classic division and held the Sandow from 2019 through 2023, mostly built his back with pull-downs, rows, and pullovers. Controlled tempo, moderate weight, squeeze at the top, stretch at the bottom. That's the centerpiece of a 5-time Olympia back. So why would the best classic physique on the planet skip the lift everyone calls foundational? The short answer is in his own film training. Chris has talked openly about lower back issues, about a spinal condition he manages around, and about wanting every rep to feed the muscle instead of feeding his ego. Heavy conventional deadlifts pound the spinal erectors, the glutes, the hamstrings, and the grip long before they ever fatigue the lats. For a powerlifter, that's the point. For a guy whose job is lat width and upper back detail under stage lights, it's a tax he doesn't need to pay. And here's the part that flips the script. The hypertrophy research broadly agrees with him. Brad Schoenfeld, the most cited hypertrophy researcher alive, has spent over a decade publishing on this. His 2017 meta-analysis in the Journal of Sports Sciences pooled studies on weekly set volume and found a clear dose response. More hard sets per muscle per week, up to a point, drove more growth. Notice what that finding is not about. It is not about which specific lift you grind. It is about accumulating quality stimulating sets on the target muscle. Then there's the load question. Cameron Mitchell and Stuart Phillips out of McMaster back in 2012 had trained lifters do leg work at either 30% or 80% of 1 rep max, taken to failure. The hypertrophy outcomes were essentially the same. Morton and Phillips followed up in 2016 in the Journal of Applied Physiology with a bigger trial, again in trained men, comparing higher rep lighter loads to lower rep heavier loads over 12 weeks. Same story. Muscle growth was statistically indistinguishable between groups when sets were taken close to failure. Read that twice. Close to failure is the variable that matters most for growth, not whether the bar is bending. So if you can build a lat with a pull down taken to within a rep or two of failure, the bar does not care that you skipped 500-pound rack pulls. Your lats do not read the loaded plates. They read mechanical tension and proximity to failure. If this is rewiring how you think about training, hit subscribe because the legends got here by feel, and the science is finally catching up. Now look at what Bumstead actually does. In his filmed back sessions with coach Rambod, the pro creator behind FST7, the template is consistent. He opens with a vertical pull, usually a lat pull down variation, sometimes a neutral grip, sometimes wide. He works in the 8 to 12 rep range. Tempo is controlled. The stretch at the top is deliberate. The contraction at the bottom is held. Then horizontal pulling, seated cable rows, chest supported rows, hammer strength rows, same rep range, same emphasis. Drive the elbows, not the hands. Squeeze the scapulae together. He talks about feeling the muscle, not moving the weight, and that sounds like a cliche until you watch how slow the eccentric is on every single rep. Then pullovers, cable pullovers, machine pullovers, sometimes dumbbell. This is the move most lifters skip, and Bumstead refuses to. It targets the lats through a long arc with the shoulders flexed overhead, which is exactly the position research on stretch-mediated hypertrophy keeps pointing toward as a high-growth stimulus. Studies from Nunez and colleagues in separate work on biceps and triceps by Mayo have shown that training a muscle in its lengthened position can produce more growth than training it short. The lat, in a pullover, is loaded long. And here's the re-hook nobody saw coming. Haney Rambod's FST7 system, the one tagged onto Jay Cutler, Phil Heath, Jeremy Buendia, and now Bumstead, finishes muscles with 7 sets of 10 to 12 reps on a single isolation move with about 30 seconds of rest. Brutal. It's not random. It's a high-volume metabolic finisher layered on top of heavier compound work. And the volume science from Schoenfeld's lab keeps suggesting that adding stimulating sets, even in that higher rep fatigue zone, can push hypertrophy further when recovery allows. So Bumstead's back day, stripped down, looks like this. A vertical pull, a horizontal pull, a pullover variation, maybe a shrug or rear delt finisher, and an FST7 closer. No heavy deadlifts, no rack pulls maxed out, no ego on the floor, and he stacked 5 Sandows. Compare that to the other extreme of the back building canon. Dorian Yates, 6-time Mr. Olympia from 1992 to 1997, ran the blood and guts system, 1 warm-up, then 1 all-out working set per exercise taken past failure with forced reps. His back day was a religion in Birmingham's Temple Gym. Barbell rows with around 400 pounds, hammer strength pull-downs, cable rows, and yes, deadlifts, at least until the injuries piled up. Yates eventually tore his biceps, tore his triceps, and his career ended early at 35. Mike Mentzer pushed it further. Heavy duty, one set to failure per exercise, sometimes one exercise per body part, sessions under 30 minutes, days of rest between workouts. He argued, drawing on Arthur Jones, that the stimulus for growth is intensity, not duration, and that more was the enemy of better. Mentzer's 1980 Mr. Olympia placing remains one of the most controversial in the sport's history. Two opposite philosophies, Yates, brutal singular intensity, Mentzer, minimalist intensity. Bumstead, moderate volume, controlled tempo, exercise selection picked surgically for the lats and upper back rather than the posterior chain as a whole. All three won at the highest level. All three skewed away from chasing 1-rep max deadlifts as the back day centerpiece in their peak prep work. Yates used them, but his real growth driver was the row machine and the pull down. Mentzer barely touched conventional pulls in his published routines. Bumstead largely skips them. So what does that tell you about exercise selection for hypertrophy versus strength? Strength is a skill. The deadlift, the squat, the bench, those are tested lifts. And to get strong at them, you have to practice them. Hypertrophy is a tissue adaptation. Your lat does not know if it's being loaded by a 500-pound deadlift or a 120-pound pull down. It knows tension, time under load, and how close you took the set to muscular failure. If your goal is to pull big numbers in a meet deadlift, if your goal is the V-taper that wins a Classic Olympia, you can absolutely build that back without ever pulling heavy off the floor, provided you replace the stimulus with enough hard sets of pull downs, rows, and pullovers taken close to failure. This is the lesson buried in Bumstead's training tapes. He didn't reject the deadlift because he was soft. He rejected it because it wasn't the most efficient tool for his specific job, given his specific body and his specific injury history. Exercise selection is a triage decision, not a tradition. And the research backs the triage. A 2021 paper from Schoenfeld and colleagues reviewed direct versus indirect work and confirmed what bodybuilders have argued for 50 years. If you want a muscle to grow, you have to train it directly with enough volume, hard enough, often enough. The compound lift is not magic, the targeted set is. So the next time someone tells you that you cannot build a back without deadlifts, point at the 5 Sandows in Chris Bumstead's trophy case, point at the pull-down machine, point at the slow eccentric, and the held contraction. That is what built the most celebrated classic physique back in the modern era. The bar on the floor isn't the only path, it's just the loudest one. If that reframed how you see back training, drop a like and subscribe and stick around because the legends left more clues than the gym bros ever tell you.